It's really important that people feel heard. There's nothing worse than when you go and tell someone something and you just know halfway through they're not listening, they're just waiting for their turn. Leadership is about pull, not push. You want to be a leader who actually leads from the front and has people coming behind them that you're willing to help bring them up to your level. You don't want to be someone that thinks you're above everyone else, thinks you know more, and then you're pushing people to the front. That's not the kind of leader that you want to be. You want to be the leader that actually leads from the front. And if you think about it in history, all of the leaders that were followed in history, whether they were good or whether they were bad, whether they did good things or bad things, they didn't just lead because of the position that they were in. It was a combination of everything. Their understanding of people and themselves, their self-belief, their confidence, their ability to use their voice as a tool and actually create rapport with people. One of the things about rapport that you're trying to achieve is, in a conversation, you want the person to feel like you know them, that they are with someone who is like them. Even if they see you as someone further ahead, you still want them to see themselves in you, so they know that they can achieve that as well. So one of the ways we talk about this, one of the ways we do this, we're going to talk about is mirroring. Whenever I was a magician trainer and corporate speaker, I used to talk about mirroring, and a lot of the time people would make the mistake of, rather than mirroring, they would copy. And there's a slight difference. Like if you were to copy someone and someone leans forward and you immediately lean forward, or they lean back and you lean back, that's copying, that's not mirroring. That actually creates a disconnect between you and the person you're talking with. Mirroring is about building trust by reflecting the other person with your actions and your words. So for example, if I'm talking to you and you lean forward, I would, as I'm responding, I would slowly lean forward as well, or as I'm listening, slowly lean forward. So there'd be a bit of a beat between your forward and then my forward. Same with moving back, or if you're taking a drink. When you take a drink, I'm going to take a beat and then I'm going to take a drink, and we're just trying to match your actions. So we build more of a connected rhythm, and then once you have that connected rhythm, then you can start to dictate the pace of the conversation, which we'll get into in a moment. So one of the things that I wrote down here is someone wants to feel heard and understood when you're talking to them. So if you are doing stuff like mirroring them, repeating some of the words that they said, some of the language that they use, and just making them feel comfortable, heard in the conversation, that's going to make a massive difference when it comes to the connection that you and them have. So I've wrote here again, I just read it out because it's important, but mirroring is not just copying, it's subtly matching someone's energy, tone, and body language. So it's subtle, it's not like when I teach the magicians, I remember being in Belfast in a bar, and I was saying, right, you can initially mirror the group before you enter the group to perform. You can watch them for a few moments and gauge their pace, and then bring your energy to that level and then go in. But I remember there was about 3 or 4 guys, and they're watching a couple groups and they're like mimicking them, but they're nervous about what they're doing, so they weren't mimicking the energy, they're trying to mimic the actions. You want to match and connect with the energy, the movement, the pace, all of it. So whenever you're practicing mirroring, if someone speaks fast, slightly increase your pace to match them. Don't go way over the top, and don't do it immediately. Just slowly build your pace up until you're matching them. Once you do that, and then once your opportunity to lead the conversation, you can slow it back down again to a more comfortable, relaxed speed, so that you get more connection created, plus you now are leading that person. Whenever you do that, it gives you the opportunity to show them that you're listening and that they're heard. And I know I've repeated that a few times. It's really important that people feel heard. There's nothing worse than when you go and tell someone something and you just know halfway through they're not listening, they're just waiting for their turn. The example that I used to use a lot is in pad work. If me and you are doing pads, if you're striking the pads, I'm calling out the numbers or the combinations and you're doing them, but I'm just waiting with the pad thinking, when's it my turn? I can't wait till 3 minutes is up. I'm not really engaged, I'm not learning anything. But if I am watching as you strike and I'm thinking, right, he drops his shoulder before he throws a right, he moves his head before he does a hook. Then when we spar later, I've got all this extra information. But even if I don't spar you, I spar someone else. I have been practicing looking out for these tails. Same as in poker, same as in conversation. So when you're conversing with someone, you can see when they're getting nervous, you can see when they're getting relaxed, and then you can mirror that and then lead it. Or if you're working with someone and they're getting stressed and you know it's going to be better if they become more calm and relaxed, say if it's some sort of negotiation, which most conversations are, if you're doing that, you can then lead the conversation, lead the pace by mirroring them first and then pulling them back to the relaxed state that you need them in to help you achieve the goal you want to achieve. So mirroring is something you can just practice all the time. I'll give you a wee challenge at the end, but it's something easy to practice. You can practice in every conversation that you have. Commanding presence, embody leadership, don't demand it. So this is like we talked about in a few podcasts ago, but true masculine leadership isn't about forcing people to listen. It's about embodying a presence that naturally makes others want to follow. So a weak person will look for validation. They will try to they'll agree with anything that you're saying. They'll talk about any subject you want to talk about because they want you to validate them and make them feel like they're part of something that they have worth. So they're looking external, but we want to, as leaders, have internal worth, internal validation. And this comes from everything that we've talked about in the podcast so far, but all these little things as well. So whenever you command presence, you slow down your movements and your speech. So nothing's more powerful than a man who isn't rushed. You'll see it a lot in conversations. Like when I worked in bars, people would be, if anyone was slightly aggressive and they asked an aggressive style question, the person that wasn't aggressive, that was a bit frightened, would answer very quickly and try to get out of the conversation. But I remember working and people would say stuff, some horrible things whenever you worked in bars, and I would stall, and the stall, one, gives me an opportunity to take my breath, to relax, but it also gives them an opportunity to think, fuck, did I actually really say that? Like an example would be, I remember a guy and like 4 or 5 of his mates wanted drink after the bar was shut. It was just after 1:30, the bar was closed. And one of them asked for a vodka and I said, no, the bar's closed. And he just kicked off and he told me that he was going to kill me. I'm going to kill you. And I was like, right. So I stalled for a bit. I used to always find these interactions hilarious because most of the time nobody was going to do anything. But when he said that and I was practicing all this stuff, I relaxed and then I watched his mates not interact and I said, just because I won't serve you, because I'll lose my job if I serve you, and it's actually against the law for me to serve you, you're going to murder me, that's what's going to happen. So I changed the word from kill to murder because murder, one, was a pattern interrupt, but also just sounds harsher. And then I turned to the friends and I was like, and you 5 guys, or how many there was, you're going to be witness to this murder, so you're going to let him murder me because I won't give him more drink. And you're going to be witnesses to the murder, which means I'll be dead and you'll all be in jail just because this guy can't get a vodka. And the word murder sort of triggered a bit of an internal conversation within the group. And the guy told me he was going to kill me again. And I was like, I can't believe you're going to murder me over me not wanting to lose my job. And you're going to actually watch this and be a part of it. They actually ended up intervening and taking that guy out, apologizing to me and leaving. And the reason I'm using this story is it wasn't just the words I was saying, it was the way I said it, my understanding of human behavior, but my posture, my confidence, because I'd walked around from the bar to be not face to face, but in front of each other, but safe distance away. I'm not stupid about the whole thing. My energy, my vibe, and my confidence changed that whole situation. Like, this guy had bravado and ego, whereas I was I came out like a leader, someone who knew what they were talking about, knew what they were capable of, and actually owned my space. So whenever you do that, and you're being decisive in your movements, you're being controlled in your movements. And I wrote here, like, men will follow men who are sure of themselves. Like, I looked like I was sure of myself in that environment. And then the less approval you seek, the more respect you command. So again, I didn't try to talk the person down. I didn't try to shrink away and get afraid. I just stood up for myself, and I used the tools and techniques that I have. So I know I talk a lot about violence and martial arts, but that was my experience. I'm just using things from my past to help relay the story. And I'm not going to be like, I've sat with masters and they were very stoic and settled, and they acted like they never were in conflict. Like, they talked their way out of everything and they used wisdom. But until we get to this stage where we have wisdom, you have to go through all the mad shit first. So I used all the techniques. I knew that if something happened, I was going to be able to handle myself, but I didn't want to have to be physical. So I used everything else that I've learned, all of the NLP, the hypnosis, everything, just body language, all of the tools. I used all of them rather than just like shrinking. So if I know I want to be someone who comes across as confident and as someone who's like a leader, someone that you should follow or could follow, then I want to embody that in everything that I do, not just like in the cage being a leader because I looked like I knew what I was doing, or on the mat because I was wrestling. I want to be someone who can demonstrate, teach, and lead all in one. So to do that, you have to incorporate all of these lessons, not just one or two of them. So I've wrote here, just the last part is about the energy. I've sort of touched on it a few times here, but your energy enters the room before you do. So before you go somewhere, like before I did a talk, I would get myself geared up to be like a heightened level of myself. Same as when I go on a podcast. I'm not just going and then turn the camera on and start. And I walk around at pace. I raise my energy, and then I know I'm not just saying stuff. I'm actually projecting a frequency. Well, I'm trying to anyway. Project a frequency so it's all embodied, rather than just, right, today I'm doing a podcast, so now I'm going to talk here. So people can feel your confidence or your insecurity. If you're moving a lot as you talk and like fidgeting, like you just know that person's anxious, and you're not going to follow an anxious person, I hope. Like in a situation where you need someone to be your leader, you want them to be still, calm, in control. So just taking a few breaths and just settling yourself into the environment, the situation that you're going to go into, that's a much more powerful way to enter a room than, right, let's go in here and try to win people over, try it. Like, you having that bit of nervous energy. So remember, it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. So people don't just listen to what you say, they feel who you are. And as an add-on to that, they feel who you think they are as well, if that makes sense. If I'm treating you with respect, then you're going to feel that. If I'm not, you're not. So I want you to practice two things here. I want you to practice mirroring and matching. These are the two challenges for this week. So just go out somewhere and just try to subtly mirror people's speech patterns, posture, and energy. Then once you've got that, you've built a bit of trust and connection, then I want you to sort of lead the conversation, change the pace, change the energy of the conversation. Try it out, let me know how you get on with it. And then the second one is the energy shift. So this is for yourself. You shift your own energy. You want to walk into a room without speaking, without a plan to speak, and just own your space. Even if you just go in and you just stand and look around, don't look around like a Terminator or a lunatic. Just scan the environment. Feel how you feel when you're in your own presence, your own self-awareness. And then if the room is relaxed, then see if you can relax yourself even more. If the room is chaotic, see if you can stay grounded. And if you just go into a chaotic place, most people, if you just watch, if you sit around a coffee shop that's busy and just watch people come in, you'll see them coming through the window and they're just walking normal because they're relaxed, they're going for their coffee, and they get in and there's a bit chaotic in this place, and they start to become chaotic with it. So see if you can still yourself and control yourself in that environment. So those are the two challenges that I want you to do this week. Reach out to me, let me know how you get on with them. If you're doing any videos of it, then just feel free to tag me in it as well. If you want me to touch on any other subjects whilst you're thinking about them, what pop up whenever we're on this, or you want me to delve into anything a little bit deeper, then just reach out to me as well. Just send me a message, a DM, whatever. Until next time, have a super awesome day, whatever you get up to, and I'll speak to you again soon.